let's talk about the Last Supper, the garden, and Peter's denial. According to John 18:4, God, Emmanuel, knew all the events that were about to occur. So being at the supper with all the disciples, Jesus, first off, washes their feet. And then they have communion. And he said in communion a very important thing. He said, "This is my blood of the new covenant." All covenants, mostly covenants were sealed with blood. Blood was the way that they were finalized. He was telling the disciples and to us that his blood that was going to be shed for all, for the cleansing and purifying of our sins. And so after they sit down, they have supper, and as I was reading this, I'm saying, well, why didn't the other disciples realize what Judas had done, what he spoke to Judas at that time? It was because they were all concerned about, well, who was it who betrayed him, or were they talking about the events that happened in the day, but they missed a key thing in him telling Judas that he was the one who was going to betray him. And then they went out into the garden to pray. And they all went, but only three of the core one, his inner circle of Peter and John and James were with him to pray. He took them a little farther because they were going to be significant in starting the early church. And we see in that moment as they prayed and they fell asleep because their eyes were heavy. And Jesus come and woke them and told them that his betrayer was at hand. And now in the garden of the scene here, they come and Peter takes out his sword and he cuts off Malchus's ear. You know, and he was ready to die with Jesus. As he said, they were all ready to die for him, but he told him, you're all going to scatter. He knew all things. He knew what was going to happen. He said, you're all going to scatter. Peter took his sword. He cut off Malchus's ear, and then Jesus healed his ear. And then they go into the garden, and he told Peter, you're going to deny me. Peter left there at that time of the coming up to the trial, and he was broken, he was ruined because he had lied. Bold, brazen Peter in the garden was now at a place of shame and guilt.